Okay, so pretty sure I'm now live, so I'll jump straight into the video. So today's going to be a relatively quick one. Not going to answer any questions or anything like that. I'm just going to go over a particular topic in quite a bit of detail, or as much detail as I can anyway. So the topic that I'm going to go over today is talking about what are called topical maps. So essentially blogging and creating a good blogging system for your flooring company. And I'm going to show you how to create a topical map, and then I'm also going to show you really kind of briefly how to actually create blog articles, like good quality blog articles that are going to rank in search engines. So you can see on my screen here I've got up just a Google sheet. So this is essentially where I create a topical map. You can see I've got all of these different fields here. You've got the topical map, you've got month, title tag, URL, description, image URL, image alt text, publication date, brief, stage, written to brief, published, word count, added to expenses, all that kind of, accounting stuff and all that kind of thing. Link to brief, content style, notes, and all that kind of. So basically everything you can possibly think of that you would need to add to a sheet when you're tracking, content and stuff like that. So, you might want to write this yourself. You might decide to get a content writer to do it. But the most important stage is planning it. The most important stage is planning the topics that you're going to target, and then planning the briefs meticulously, like to the point where, you've almost written the article in a way because you've planned the briefs so, you've pinpointed it so much. So basically what we're going to do then is do a little bit of keyword research. So initially what you want to do is you want to think about two things. The first thing is what you call the outer topical map. So the outer topical map for a flooring company is going to be covering all of the kind of general flooring topics. So what I'm talking about is you're going to, as a kind of general flooring company, a residential flooring company, you're going to want to cover every kind of topic relating to flooring. So you're going to start with, for example, flooring. You're going to then write an article about carpet, LVT, wood flooring, laminate, all of these different types of flooring, because the idea at this stage is basically to cover flooring, in its kind of entirety. So you're covering all of the main topics, because then once you've covered these main topics, you can then dive into the more specific types of flooring that you're trying to target. So if you're a flooring company that sells multiple types of flooring, but you are specialist in LVT flooring, then you basically need to create all of the topics about flooring, and then you need to start narrowing the topics down to just writing about LVT flooring. So I'll show you the process really quickly. So initially what we're going to do is we're going to start off with flooring, and then we're going to think of everything else that relates to flooring, like a top level topic. So best flooring, and then we're going to do vinyl flooring, and then we're going to do laminate flooring, carpet, wood, I've gone blank now. Carpet, wood. Anyway, so if we was to put into, you can use keyword tools for this. So I've got SE ranking. So you would go to a keyword research tool. So if we go to the research tool here, keyword research, and then we go to view the report. So this is basically showing us all the keywords that relate to flooring. Now what we can do is we can scan through these keywords here. We can look at the kind of search volume and stuff like that and start looking at the keywords that we think are going to be like top level topics. What are the main topics that we need to cover when something relates to flooring? So we go back to the topical map here. We've got vinyl. We put LVT flooring on there as well. We've got lino. So we put lino in there. We've got tile flooring. We've got flooring brands. Now you don't necessarily need a keyword research tool for this initially, because you can generally kind of think of the main topics off the top of your head, but keyword research tools do kind of help. You know, especially if you go kind of if you go kind of brain dead, like when you're trying to think of things. So yeah, we're just trying to cover the main types of flooring at this stage. And then you can also use things like just a Google search. Oh, didn't mean to go on that. So if we do a Google search, you can see you want to look for things like the people also ask section. You want to see if there's any kind of ideas that are popping up that we could just add into this kind of outer topical map. So we're trying to cover all of the kind of main ideas around flooring. So at the moment, only really thinking about residential flooring as well. So, you know, let's just say, because obviously I don't want this video to be too long, but let's just say this is all of the main topics that, you know, cover kind of flooring, as like broadly cover flooring. So then what you'd do is you would want to create an article about each one of these topics. And once you've created an article about every one of these topics and you posted it and it's on your site, you then want to start going into your specialist area. So your specialist area could be LVT flooring. So then what you'd want to do is start creating the inner topical map. So now what we'll do is we'll start actually researching just LVT flooring. So what we're trying to do is look at all of the kind of questions that would surround LVT flooring. So, you know, the first one's going to be, what is LVT flooring? Types of LVT flooring, best LVT flooring, brands of LVT flooring. We can also use, you know, keyword research tools again. So if we go into here and we put so you've got LVT click flooring. So put that in there. LVT flooring installation. How to maintain. How to maintain LVT flooring would be another question. You could put in there LVT flooring trends. You could then start going through all of the different rooms that you'd put LVT flooring in. So LVT flooring for the kitchen, or you could just put, no, that's fine. Then you could put LVT flooring for the bedroom, living room, again, go back to the, sort of go in and out of the keyword tools, go in and out of Google searches. You could go on to Google search. You could put in, for example, like LVT flooring installation. So there's another idea, glue down. You could put uses, LVT flooring for pets. Underlay. So I hope you kind of get the point. What we're doing is essentially what we've done is we've shown Google that we're kind of experts in flooring by covering all of the main topics. We're basically showing Google that, and I just want to make the point that these topics here don't necessarily have to be topics that you sell. Even you can write about carpet even if you don't sell carpet. You could put a disclaimer at the bottom saying, of the article, this is only a blog article, by the way. We're not creating like service pages or anything like that. So you could still write an article about carpet, because your job as a flooring company is to kind of give people a kind of good broad understanding of the different types of flooring that are available for them. And even if you don't sell carpet might be the right solution for them for what they're trying to achieve. So even if you don't sell it, then having that information on your website, kind of saying like, these are the pros and cons of carpet, it's going to help. It's going to help position you as an expert, because you're kind of disqualifying people at the same time. You're saying to people that, you don't fit carpet, but here are the pros and cons of it. So you're showing people that you're experts in every type of flooring. You understand the whole flooring industry. So that's really what we're trying to achieve in this first part here. And really, you don't need to cover that many topics. You only need to really cover the kind of main topics. Now, there are a few other topics. I've just gone completely blank, to be honest. But there's quite a few other topics you can target here. I mean, you could just put in another topic. Could be just residential flooring. You could also cover some of the commercial flooring. I mean, if you're a residential and commercial flooring company, then you'd want to cover all of the main types of flooring for commercial and residential. So there are, I would say, probably in the outer topical map for a flooring company, you're looking at like sort of 10 to 20, maybe 10 to 20 articles that you would create initially in the outer topical map. They're going to be largely the ones that I've put down here are going to be the kind of the main ones, but there are a few others. Obviously, there's quite a few other topics in commercial as well that you could target. So once you've covered those ones, then that's when you would move into the more specialist thing. So, LVT might be your specialist area. You might be a carpet specialist. So, again, the process would be exactly the same for carpet. So just to reiterate the process, what you'd do is you'd basically cover all of the main topics in flooring, all of the kind of the top level ones. Then what you'd do is you would think about every single possible question and query and keyword that would relate to your kind of specialist area, which in this instance I'm saying is LVT flooring. But then once you've covered your kind of specialist area, you can then actually move on to another specialist area. So for example, if you decided LVT flooring is the best and most profitable service for your business, so that's going to be the area that you're going to specialize in first. Once you've gone through all of these different articles here and you've covered every kind of possible question, query and keyword that people can possibly ask about OVT flooring, then you could move on to another service that you offer. So, for instance, it could be then something like carpet. So if we could do another one really quickly, you put carpet in here. So again, you would say best types of carpet. And you'd just basically restart the exact same process. Brands of carpet. So why is all of this actually important? So the reason it's important is because by specialize in a particular niche within flooring, you can truly dominate that niche. So by creating all of this different content about, you know, a particular type of flooring, is also going to help you rank a lot better for, you know, LVT flooring in location, you know, or carpet in location, because when Google's looking at your site, it can see that you're experts in that particular area. So then if you've got a landing page, if you've got a location page that is specifically about LVT flooring in a certain area, and Google can see all of this information on your website about LVT flooring, and it can see that all of these articles are good quality articles, then that is going to position yourself as experts in Google's eyes and also your customers' eyes. You know, if someone was to you know, ask where's a good flooring company for LVT flooring, and you've got all of this content on your site about LVT flooring, you know, and you are showing people, you know, through your content, it's not just on your website as well, because it can be repurposed onto social media, all of the different platforms that you're on. It's basically going to show people that you are experts within that particular niche. And, you know, it's going to help with conversion. So, you know, if someone was looking for a flooring company that was specialized in a particular type of flooring, and then they can see that you're a specialist within that area because of the content on your site and because of the content that's going out on your social media, it's very likely that they're not even going to, you know, bother looking at other flooring companies, because they can see that you are the experts within that area. So like I say, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't target other types of flooring. Like your website would still have all of the different services that you offer on it, but all it means is that you are just going down a particular path to try and dominate that area before you start moving on to the other areas. And the way to choose what is the best kind of area for you to focus on is what I touched on earlier, is basically just trying to understand what is the most profitable type of flooring and service that, you know, for your type of business. You know, what are you optimized best for? What do you, you know, what are you best at fitting? What do you enjoy fitting most? What is most profitable for you? You know, what have you got the most feedback on? All of those kind of factors. Just look at that and then decide, you know, what niche of flooring it is that you want to focus on initially. Now, you know, when you're writing these articles, the frequency matters as well. You know, you don't really want to just kind of, you know, just create 30 sort of briefs in one go and then, you know, get them all written either by yourself or by a content writer or whatever it is. You want to be kind of putting these out on a regular basis. Like you want consistency. So you want to be putting like, you know, an article out every 1 week, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, whatever it is that you can commit to, and just, and play the long game. You know, don't worry necessarily about, you know, trying to churn out all of these, kind of topics in the outer topical map initially. You might just want to focus on, you know, just making sure that you're getting at least one article out per month initially. So that would be, you know, the starting point for creating a good blogging strategy. You know, just really touching on some of this other stuff here. So the month here, like, you know, obviously I'll just put in there the different months that we're going to be scheduling these different pieces of content. But one of the main things as well that you want to kind of, so we got the title tag here, which is going to be the title of the actual article. You've got description of the article, you know, what it's actually going to be about, image URL. So, you know, if you put any images on this page, what's actually going to be the URL of this image? The alt tag, which is just describing what the image is about. So an alt tag is basically for someone with like a screen reader, so someone who's visually impaired. If they was to come onto your site, then they would have screen readers, and the screen reader would basically say, it would read out what a description of what the image is about. So the alt tag is going to relate to you know, what your images are images of. But these are all areas that you can put keywords into. So, for example, if you're targeting, for example, like best flooring, then, you know, the image URL and the alt tag and the description as well are going to be places that you can add keywords into. But one of the most important areas of this process is also thinking about the URL. So the way you would structure a URL would be, you've got your top level topics here. So for example, it might be your company might be flooringexperts.com, and that would be it. And so your first article would be / flooring. That would be it. And then your second article would be best flooring. So best relates to flooring. So what you'd want to do here is you'd want to put best. So you'd have flooring experts, flooring being the kind of top level topic, and then the one down from that would be best, because all you're doing is talking about the best types of flooring there. Next up, we've got vinyl. So again, this would be the structure of the URL. So you would have that would just be swapped out for vinyl. Oh, it's like that. So you can basically do this for all of these different top level topics here. You'd want to establish the URL for each of these first. So this one here would be laminate. This would be carpet. This would be wood. And then I'll just leave it LVT. But LVT, so there you go. So then when you come to your actual kind of inner topical map where you're talking about these different topics about LVT flooring, is you'd always take this first part here. So you'd always have flooringexperts.com / flooring / LVT. That would be the start of every single one of these articles here that you're about to write. And you've basically just got to think about the hierarchy of information. So Flooring Experts is your root domain. Your whole business is around flooring. So flooring would be the first part of the URL. You're then specifically talking about LVT flooring, so that would be the second part of the URL. Now, what is LVT flooring? That would actually, we probably wouldn't even need to write that article, because that would actually be covered here. So to be honest, that one actually probably could be deleted. But types, for example, so the way you would structure the URL of this one would be LVT flooring / types. So if you read that the other way around, types of LVT flooring, you can see what I'm saying. So it flows. And then the next one would be best. Next one would be brand. See, so a brand could actually be considered a type. So you could put types, and then you could put / brand, because you would also talk about types. You'd also talk about brands within the types article. Click flooring, click LVT, that would be considered a type as well. So type brand. No, sorry, type click. However, click would actually fall under installation. So LVT flooring installation. So this is what you've got to do. So the reason you have to kind of set out all of the URLs initially is because then you can order these in order of hierarchy, because you want to be completing the most important articles first. So for example, if you think LVT, if you think click, is a subsection of installation, then installation would be more important than click, because now you would put installation there. So you'd put installation, and now LVT click flooring, LVT type click, you would put installation. So now you can see you would write that one first, because that one there is like a kind of LVT click flooring would be a heading within the installation kind of article. So click flooring would make sense to have that, installation as kind of the high, the higher kind of the article that's the tier above, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, basically So yeah, maintain. I'd probably say that would be fine by itself. Trends would be fine by itself, and then for example, like kitchen, bedroom, living room, that would actually probably fall under best. So I would put LVT flooring, then I'd put best, because you're talking about what's the best room to put LVT flooring in. So then you would put kitchen. So the URL would look something like this: flooringexperts.com /flooring /LVT /best /kitchen. And it would be the same for bedroom, living room, dining room, whatever else. Glue down, again, that would fall under type and installation. Again, you would then probably nest, click and glue down together, because these are articles that you're going to want to write one after the other. Pets, I mean, you could probably put that under under uses, sorry, but uses might also fall under best, and the length of the URL doesn't actually matter. So the reason that we're structuring the URL like this is because, and the reason we're writing the articles in this way is because if you wrote the article about flooring and you made sure this article covered absolutely everything there is to know about flooring, and every single heading and piece of content within this article added value, and Google could see this is a very, very valuable piece of content for your site, and also for the internet and for the readers, then basically Google can see that flooring is that particular article about flooring is high quality. So then when you go to write another article, so for example talking about vinyl, when you go to write an article about vinyl, Google already knows that article there, flooring, is good quality. So it's going to assume that the vinyl article that follows on from the flooring article is also going to be good quality. Because at the moment, there's a massive problem in SEO and in like search engines, where basically Google isn't, it's not crawling and indexing that many pages anymore. It's being very picky about the ones that it does. There's a lot of content now that's been de-indexed, and there's also a lot of content where people have created new content and Google's may have crawled it. It may have seen it on the web, but it hasn't actually indexed it. So if content hasn't been indexed, it means it's not in the search results. So our job, when we're trying to optimize our website and we're trying to create good quality articles, is make sure that the article is good quality and Google is going to see it as a good enough piece of content that it wants to index it, and then by getting these initial articles here, the main kind of top level topic articles, by getting those indexed, we're also going to increase our chances by a lot of getting these other subtopics indexed. And really what you want to do is, if you go into Google Search Console, you'll be able to see on Google Search Console basically what pages have been crawled, and what pages have been crawled and indexed. So you will actually see on Google Search Console, you will see some pages have been crawled but not indexed, or crawled and discovered, and then there's other pages that have been crawled and indexed. So if you see there's a lot of pages in the crawled and not indexed, that means there's a problem generally with the quality of that content. And if you think about your website, you've got 100 different pages on your website, and Google has crawled through your website. It's seen all of those pages, and it's only indexed let's say 40 of those pages out of the 100. That's almost like you've got a score of 40 out of 100. Only 40 pages have been indexed out of the 100 that you've got. So why is it that the other 60 pages that Google has crawled and it has seen, why is it that those pages are not indexed? Now, there are a lot of pages that don't necessarily need to be indexed, and you don't want them to be indexed. But if these are actual pages that you've put a little bit of effort into, you've actually created content for, so for example like blog articles and like your service pages and like your location pages, if these are pages that you want in the index, then why haven't they been indexed if they're in that crawled not indexed? So this is what I'm saying. That's why creating blog articles in this particular structure, in an actual logical way, and creating them in the right order, you know, structuring the URLs, and then actually creating the blog articles themselves. That's why it's so important to get this right, because otherwise you could just be one of those companies that is just churning out content and, you know, no one's ever going to see it. Google doesn't really care about it because it's just not good quality enough. It's not done in the right way. You have to have a plan when you're creating blog content these days, that, you know, especially with the rise of kind of, you know, how easy it is for people to create content now, you know, like with AI tools and stuff like that. You know, I could take flooring brands, for example. I could copy and paste that keyword into ChatGPT right now, and I could say, write me a 2,000 word article about it, and it will do that within seconds. So if I can do that, anyone else can do that. So, you know, there's too much content now. There's too much content for Google to actually crawl and index it all. So that's why, if what you're doing is what a million other people can do in, you know, in a split second like you can, that's not good quality content. You know, you need to be making sure that what is it that's actually going to make this content better than anyone else's? What is it that, you know, can this content be replicated by 1,000 other people if they just literally took the keyword or title that you had and just put it into, you know, an AI content writing tool? So that's why, you know, like I say, it's very, very important that you follow this kind of structure on, you know, creating blog content, and then obviously going down the kind of more specialist route. So that's really all I want to go over on the topical map. You know, like when you finish the topical map, it is going to be big. You know, you're going to have over 100 different topics initially. You know, just keep thinking of idea after idea. You think it's like semantics. So, you know, if I said to you LVT flooring, then your first question might be, what is it? You know, and then you just keep asking question after question after question. That's why I'm saying the keyword tools are helpful, but obviously Google's helpful. Any of these tools are helpful, but you don't necessarily need them. All it takes is you just to think about things that people are asking you, you know, on a daily basis, weekly basis, or whatever, about these different products and services. Like, and obviously you can quite easily come up with your own questions about them, even if you know the answers to them. So yeah, you know, a few other little tricks if you are doing a little bit of research on Google and stuff like that. You've got the people also ask section here. If you click the drop down and you keep clicking it, back in, back out, back in, back out, you'll notice that it keeps more and more keep popping, keep adding to this this section here, and eventually, you know, the top one, if you keep clicking that back and forth, it will actually stop. But when that one stops, you would then click the next one down, and then that starts opening up even more. And you can basically just keep going and going and going. You'll probably find that some of the topics start to repeat themselves, or they do actually start going off topic. But when you start noticing that they're going off topic, or they're starting to repeat themselves, then you've probably exhausted the kind of people also ask section. But like I say, there's a ton of tools out there. You know, look at the search results. When you're scrolling through the search results, what is Google highlighting? These are all keywords here that Google is associating with this keyword here. You know, you could put in there suppliers, again, same thing. Don't know why my internet's been slow today, but anyway, you know, you put in suppliers, you're going to get lots of other keywords that are going to come up that are going to relate to this. You know, so like I say, there's a million and one ways to actually generate all of these content ideas and stuff like that. So that's not really the kind of the issue or the kind of challenge. The challenge is just like organizing this in the correct way, and then organizing all of the URLs. So that's the initial part. So I'll leave it at that with that bit. So the next thing is, once you've actually created this topical map and you know the order that you're going to create this content in, you now want to actually start creating the briefs for this content. So, you know, starting with something like flooring, you're going to expect that this is going to be a pretty big article. So an article about flooring. So this is a typical content brief that I will use. So this is the template. So you can see here, I've got a number of headings. I've got what you call the contextual vector, which is basically like the heading itself. So you'd have in there like the title here, then you'd have the next question. Then you've got the heading number, so like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. Then you've got contextual structure. So this is actually the area that we're going to structure the heading in. any kind of outbound links or inbound or internal links that you want to link to. So here you would list, pages that perhaps relate to the heading here. So for example, if you wrote a heading and it was vinyl flooring, and you'd wrote an article on vinyl flooring, then you'd want to put a link there to the article that you've written about vinyl flooring. Google Search Console queries. So basically go into your Google Search Console and put in and see whether there's any keywords that relate to the one that we're trying to target. And then we got competitor research. Generally what I do is I go onto I'll put the keyword that we're trying to target. So, let's just take an example of let's just do best flooring. So you put best flooring in. And then what I would do is I would take the kind of first 3 competitors here, and then I would put them into a keyword tool like SE Ranking or SEM Rush or Ahrefs, any of the ones that you've got really, and then basically search all of the related keywords that come up to those 3 competitors there. So I would add all of the competitor keywords here and here with all of the search volume and the query terms. And then basically what I'd be doing is looking through all of those keywords that have been picked up, and then I'd be picking out the ones that are coming up the most, and that would kind of start helping me form the structure of the article. So the best thing to do, so I could really quickly build out like a basic kind of brief. So for example, the heading would be best flooring, or it would expand on that a little bit. But so I'd do a little bit of research on best flooring. So like I say, I would get the top competitor, and then I'd put that into a research tool. And then this is going to give me all of the keywords that are that this company is ranking for that particular keyword. So you want to make sure. So that's the home page there that they're ranking for. That's why it's going to come up with an absolute shit ton of keywords here. So you can see, like for best flooring, this competitor here, these are all of the keywords that they're ranking for that particular keyword. So there's 834 pages here, so I'm not going to go for 834 pages worth of keywords. But what I would do at this stage is I would actually download, export that, export those keywords, and then I would basically there's probably quite a lot of keywords here, that's why it's going to take a little while. So then I would open up those keywords there in Excel. And for example, you would take all of the keywords here, and then I would put them into the brief under competitor 1. And then that's given me a list of keywords that this competitor's ranking for that particular keyword. Then I'd repeat the process for another competitor, or 2 or 3 more competitors, until I've got a list of keywords for each of these competitors that I can use to then kind of build out the brief for my blog article. Because if these competitors, if they're ranking for that particular keyword, best flooring, then all of the keywords that they're getting picked up for on that particular page is going to, all of these keywords are going to be very relevant to the article that we're trying to build. So for example, best flooring. So that's the initial title. So what we're going to want to do is start to structure this based on the keywords that we've got here. So what is the best So you might ask, what is the best flooring for residential property? And then you would start going into the different types of flooring that you would fit in residential property. So, you know, it might be like vinyl flooring. Laminate flooring, wood flooring, carpet, and so on. So that would be the first question. So you've got your heading up here, that would be H1. So that is, you've only got one H1 on a page. That's going to be the top one here, which is going to be best flooring. And then what is the best flooring for residential property? That's going to be an H2. And then these here are going to be, you know, subheadings of this heading here. So these would all be H3s. H3, H3. And then basically, if you was to ask any more questions, you know, if you was to go any deeper into any of these topics here, they would be H4s. So, for example, if you was going to start speaking about best types of wood flooring, then that would now become an H4, because that there relates to this heading 3 here. So they're kind of the initial questions there. And then, you know, for example, once you've covered residential flooring, you then might put, you know, the next question might be, what is the best flooring for commercial property? So then that would be an H2. And then you might put in there like resin flooring, you know, vinyl again, you know, whatever it is, carpet tiles, although you probably wouldn't put carpet tiles, you'd put carpet, because then carpet tiles would actually be an H4, because they would be H3s, H3, and then, you know, carpet tiles is a subheading of carpet, so that would be an H4. So that's how you would kind of build out an article brief. So initially what you're trying to do is answer all of the kind of main, the most related topics to, you know, the heading or the main target keyword, which is best flooring. And then, you know, as you're answering these questions, you might have other questions. So, you know, you might have another. So what is the best type of flooring? And then you say vinyl flooring, laminate flooring, wood flooring. But then you might have more questions about, you know, what's the best type of wood flooring? What's the best type of laminate flooring? What's the best type of vinyl flooring? So you just find yourself asking more and more questions as you're going through this brief. And then that's how you would structure the brief. You would structure all the headings, you know, in a way that shows that these questions relate to these headings here. So, you know, you're going to keep going down and down the brief, answering all these questions about the best types of flooring. You know, then you put what best types or best flooring for best flooring for different types of environments. You might put so that would be an H2, and then this one, best flooring for wet environments. So that would be an H3, and then a wet environment could be a kitchen. So that would be an H4. And then best flooring for swimming pools, for example, you know. So that would be an H4, because that falls under wet environments. So yeah, that's basically how you would structure a blog article. So once you've got all your headings in place, then what you're going to want to do is actually structure each one of these headings. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to work out the best way that this heading can be presented to someone that's reading this article. So what I've got and what I've created for my business is a set of rules. So where are we? The contextual structure rules. So basically, this is how I structure all of the headings in any of my blog articles. So I've got this set of rules here, and I'll look at the heading. So what is the best flooring for residential property? And I will look at all of these different rules that I've got, and I'll work out what is the best way of structuring this based on these rules. So the first thing might be, what is the best flooring for residential property? With any kind of heading in any kind of blog article, you're going to want to make sure that you answer the question as quickly as possible before you go actually into the details of the question, because that's what Google's looking for. It's looking for the answer as quickly as possible, and generally your readers are looking for the answer as quickly as possible. Your readers and Google don't want to be going through or trying to trawl through content trying to find the answer. They just want to get the answer, and then if at that point after getting the answer they think, well, actually I want to know a little bit more about it, like why have you given me that answer, then they're going to start reading further to try and understand in a little bit more depth about why you've come to that conclusion. So a lot of questions, a lot of topics within a blog article, for example, what is the best flooring for residential flooring, they're generally going to start with things like the definitive answer should be given within a single sentence, because what we're trying to do is just really quickly say, it might not be a definitive answer in the sense that there is no best type of flooring for a residential property, because it depends on your kind of circumstances, but that would be the answer. So the definitive answer in this instance would be there is no best flooring for every type of residential property. It would depend on this, this and this, and then you would then move into the next bit, which is then, introducing this section here where you start actually going into a little bit more depth about these different types of flooring. So this is the first thing that we're going to do, is we're going to define the answer within a single sentence. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the other rules, because we're going to want to expand on this particular heading a little bit more before we move on to the next thing. So we're going to put 2. What's the next thing that we're going to want to do in this heading? So probably going to want to keep it relatively short, I would say, because we're actually going to expand upon this question in these sections here. So we're not going to want to write too much in this heading 2. It's more of an introductory sentence. So I'm going to say keep that kind of short and to the point. I'm going to say 40 words, 320 character limit. And the reason I say 320 character limit is because 320 characters is roughly about the size of what is called a featured snippet. So a featured snippet, if there's one that's actually going to come up, they don't always come up, but basically the featured snippet is, if you ever search for something on the Google search, you'll see that sometimes there's a bit of information that comes up here, and you don't actually have to click on anything. You can just see the answer before you actually normally, like, it's typical that when you search nothing comes up, so there you go, that's a featured snippet there. So if we highlight over that, you can see that the character count of that featured snippet is 288 words. 288 letters, sorry. And the word count is 45. So if we go back to our rules, you can see here that that's why I've put 40 words or 320 character limit, because that's about the maximum that Google will show on one of these featured snippets. And this position here, this is not actually position 1. This is not classed as position 1. The featured snippet, you could be ranking organically somewhere down here, and you could get a featured snippet, and that will put you above position 1, which is this one here. So that's why featured snippets are quite important, and that's why you do kind of want to optimize your blog content, or any content for that matter, to try and get featured snippets. So focusing on writing really good content for 300 words, 250 words, roughly around that kind of, I keep saying words, characters, roughly around 250 to 300 characters is going to really help with trying to make sure that you land these featured snippets here. And to try and optimize best for these featured snippets, then just look at the ones that are already existing. So for example, which type of floor is best? Look at the kind of the structure of that sentence and try and work out what is it that they've done that's got them there, and see how you can write a slightly better one. But you'll also find that, like we just saw, if we put in like the other keyword, what's the best kind of flooring, there's no featured snippet for that. So that is actually an opportunity to get Google to show a featured snippet, because there's no reason why it wouldn't trigger a featured snippet. So if you can get, if you see that like this question here or another question doesn't have a featured snippet, then that's an opportunity for you to optimize for a featured snippet on a page that doesn't actually have one already. Because if there is one that's good enough, Google will generally kind of show it. And that's a way of getting to the top of the search results without actually kind of ranking on actual position 1. So yeah, so that's the first thing that we're going to do. And then this is really going to introduce the rest of these topics here. So the next rule that we're going to put in there is an introductory one. So where is it? Section intro. So introduce the section. So this is what we want to do in this section here. 3. Introduce the section, includes synonyms. I can't say that word properly, but synonyms of the heading. Give a short summary of the section before moving into it. So essentially what we're doing is we're saying define, give the definitive answer straight away. Try and keep this roughly around 40 words, 320 character limit, and then basically just write an introduction into the rest of these different topics that are coming up. So you'd basically just write about vinyl, laminate, wood, carpet. These are all going to be the things that we talk about in this next section, and then you would basically go through to the next heading here, and you would do the same thing. So you would start, you would then start setting your rules out for this heading. So for example, vinyl flooring. There's no question here, so you can't give the definitive answer within a single sentence because there's no question. So what you'd want to do here, then maybe the structure that you'd use for this particular heading would be define what this is in a single sentence. So put 1 in there. You can see define what this is in a single sentence before going into the rest. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to start with a definition. We're going to start what is vinyl flooring. We're going to describe that within a single sentence. So you've given someone the answer as quickly as possible. So vinyl flooring, think about the context of this actual article. You can see that it is about best flooring. So what is someone going to want to know about vinyl flooring? Once you've defined what it is, they're probably going to want to know the pros and cons. Is it a good flooring to use for the different situations and things like that. So the next logical kind of way of structuring this heading would be to add something like a pros and cons list. So where are we? Pros and cons. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to go to number 2, and you'd put in there give pros and cons in either a table format or bullet point, whichever works better. So basically whoever's writing this can decide what's the best format to actually write these pros and cons about this particular product. And generally, because all of these different these are all just different products of flooring, this kind of, once you've structured this one heading here, all of these other headings for these different types of flooring are all going to follow the same structure. So all you do is just drag that down. Apart from when you get to the heading 4 here, best types of wood flooring, you're going to want to structure that slightly differently. So one word of warning is generally like your H1 is the most important heading on the page, because that's essentially what the whole kind of article is about, or the whole page is about. So best flooring, that's just the keyword. So if we actually turn that into an article, I would write the article at the very end of the brief. So once I've created the brief, then I would know the order of all of the of all of these headings here. So then I would be able to actually form a title that would flow with the article. So So I'd put like what is the best flooring, and then I would put then basically I would look at the heading 2s here, and I would put residential, commercial, environments, and more. You know, like there's going to be more headings, so you could probably include more in there. But essentially what you're doing with the title is you're including the keyword at the very start, and then you're going into a little bit more detail about what the actual article is going to be covering. And when you're listing these different things that are going to be within the article in the title, you want to make sure that you list them in the same order of what the article is actually written in. So yeah, like I was saying, that's the most important heading on the page, because that's going to tell the reader and the Google what the rest of the article was about. And then the next most important headings on the page are going to be the H2s. So the H2s are kind of the most highly related headings to the heading 1. So the H2s, these ones here, are generally going to be the ones that are going to have more content under them than your H3s and your H4s. So as you start going down the hierarchy of these different headings, you're probably going to want to write less and less about them. Because, for example, if you was writing an article about the best flooring, and then you said, like, what's the best type of residential flooring for a property, and then you went, like, what's the best vinyl flooring, or you just started speaking about vinyl flooring, and then you said, what are the best types of vinyl flooring, and then you started asking what are the best brands of vinyl flooring, and what are, what's the best installation method of vinyl flooring, or something like that, then this article doesn't, it no longer becomes about, generally about what is the best flooring. It starts becoming more and more about what is the best type of vinyl flooring. So you don't really want to go that deep. And generally, in most articles, you never really go much deeper than an H4. And to be honest, in a lot of articles, I don't really go much deeper than H3s, because you don't really need to. Because all of these H4s and these H3s are going to form other articles on your website. So, like going back to the topical map, a lot of these headings here, a lot of these topics, they're going to be covered within like the LVT flooring kind of main article here. So when you are writing articles, it's actually giving you kind of more articles to write when you're looking at the kind of headings that are lower down the hierarchy. So yeah, that's kind of how you would structure the brief, and you'd do this for every single one of these headings here. You would structure every single sentence that or every single paragraph for every single heading. So last thing I just want to do is just show you some examples. So basically I've created this like bit of a cheat sheet really, because obviously writing all of this out does take a very long time. So the cheat sheet I've written is basically kind of like all of the common types of questions that you would get within an article or within a page, and then I've left it blank for like target keywords. So for example, like article title. So for any title of any kind of blog article, you can see the type is informational. For any type of blog article, this is the kind of structure that we would use for that heading. So we're going to introduce the article and explain briefly what's going to be covered in the same order that the article is structured in. Include the target keyword, highlight the target keyword in bold, include synonyms of the synonyms, I think actually, of the main target keyword and the overall article concept. And then the next point is here are the main concepts, and then basically I would just copy and paste all of the heading 2s into this section here, so whoever it is that's writing it can see these are the main concepts that need to be covered in this opening sentence or opening paragraph. And then all of these headings down here are very typical questions that you would ask within a blog article. How much does it cost for target keyword? So the way we'd structure this is give the definitive price depending on what country you're writing this article for, UK, US pounds or dollars or whatever. Explain the variations, give the different differences in price factors and how this can change. How can the different factors influence this price? So that's a typical way of structuring a question about price. Another way would be what is so generally just like what is this, like we mentioned earlier, like what is vinyl flooring. The way you'd structure this is the definitive answer would be given in a single sentence, and then you might include a certain feature or specific kind of entity or concept that would relate to this type of flooring. So there might be something that there might be a specific feature with a specific type of flooring that if you said what this feature was, you would know what type of flooring this is without actually mentioning the type of flooring, if you get what I'm saying. So for example, if I said like it's a grainy piece of flooring, then you're going to think, well, that's a piece of wood flooring. So that's what I'm saying. If you include these kind of features, you include these words within these headings, then that's going to optimize this paragraph a lot better. What are the different types of the different types of flooring, the different types of LVT flooring, things like that? That's how you'd structure this. So you can see there's loads of different questions that would typically come up over and over again in all sorts of different types of articles surrounding flooring, and even other services really. So my advice to you would be to create a cheat sheet like this as well. Basically, create a few different articles. It is pretty slow creating these types of articles, but once you've created 3 or 4 articles answering different types of questions, you generally find that you've actually answered a lot of questions that come up over and over again in different types of blog articles. So then you can start using these templates to create future articles. So that's it really. The last thing that I just want to go over actually is kind of the general rules of the content. So this here is the contextual vector rule. So basically these are kind of general rules for the whole article itself. So really quickly run through what these rules are. So they're in no particular order, but you can see these are kind of things that you're going to want to think about when you are writing a brief, and even when you're writing the content. So format every single heading as a question. So this isn't always possible, but any kind of heading that you can actually format as a question, then you're going to want to do it, because Google generally converts a lot of headings into questions. Because if you look at the people also asked section here, these are all questions. But then if you actually go onto the article, most of the time anyway, when you go onto the article that this question is related to, there isn't actually a question in this article. Google has taken this content out of this article and then asked a question about it. So you can see that's how Google actually prefers content. It prefers it in question form. So that's the first rule, is to make sure that you try and ask, formulate your headings, your brief headings, your content headings, your article headings, in actual questions. But sometimes you don't need to. Like if you're just writing about vinyl flooring, you've already asked the question there, so now you can just go in and kind of write those not in questions. Other rules would be include your source context within every heading. So for example, the source context in this article would be best flooring. So you would say, what is the best flooring for residential property? What is the best flooring for commercial property? Like I say, the heading 2s are the most important when it comes to including this keyword within these headings. Other things would be unique attributes. So types of features, like I was saying, that actually types of features that relate to that particular type of product or service. Root attributes, so these are attributes that do not change, so they're the same. Rare attributes, so these are attributes that are not true for every entity. H1 always H1 always unifies the H2s. Ask questions and then follow up questions in your heading 3s, 4s and 5s. Always ask a representative question first. So basically that's the most direct question. It's been a while since I've actually looked at these rules, because generally I do it without looking at these now because I've done it so much. But when I'm reading them back, I sort of have to think about it a little bit. But anyway, so basically be direct and answer the question in the shortest way possible. So follow up with a specific context question to expand your questions and answers further. So again, you're trying to go a little bit deeper and trying to give more context on a particular topic. Definitional questions. These are questions that define something, so they're going to start with questions that start with what. They're gonna what is the best type of flooring? That can then be answered with a definitive answer, like we was doing earlier. Grouping questions. These are questions that have more than one answer and can be answered as a group. So for example, like the same answer would apply, but maybe different products. That's going to be like a grouping question. Comparative questions. So these are where we can compare other things. Boolean questions. These are actually very important. So this is a question where you either answer yes or no at the very start of it. So, for example, is vinyl flooring good for commercial properties? You would either say yes or no at the very start of that question. You would give them the answer straight away. That's a Boolean question. Central search intent. So this is going a little bit more deep now, but this is basically central search intent should be kind of what your whole website is about. So the central search intent should be kind of covered at the very start of kind of every piece of content that's on your website. So that's a little bit beyond kind of writing blogs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just generating questions again. Internal links. So basically, internal links. If you can, try and add internal links in your heading 3s, 4s, and 5s rather than your heading 2s, because like I was saying, your heading 2s are the most important headings on the page, obviously apart from your heading 1. So if you're putting links in your heading 2s, then you're linking away from that content too quickly. So you're essentially saying this content isn't as important as the one I'm linking to from my heading 2. So that's why you want to kind of avoid putting internal links in your heading 2. You want to put them in your heading 3s, 4s, and 5s. So give less context in the first part of the content, don't go as deep with the headings, be more summative. So yeah, so essentially basically what you're doing is kind of giving a kind of broader answer initially, and then you're going deeper with the other questions, like the headings 2, 3, heading 3, 4, and 5s. Always start with a definition. I think I've already got that on there. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. To be honest, these are a little bit deeper, and I don't really think that we need to go over that at this stage. So that's basically it. That is how we would create a content plan for your blog, and then we would create the briefs for each one of these topics. So you can basically, if you really wanted to plan this well, you could basically create your outer topical map, you could create your inner topical map where you target in your specific niche, and then you could go through and create all of your blog article or your briefs, and you could link them all in a sheet like this. So yeah, that is it. To be honest, there's nothing more to kind of say on this topic at this stage, so I'm going to leave that here, and yeah, I'll be back next Wednesday. So thanks for watching, and see you then.